The summer heat was brutal that year, the kind that makes your skin stick to your shirt and your patience run thinner than a dollar store paper towel. I'd just moved into this cookie-cutter suburban neighborhood, all manicured lawns and nosy neighbors, thinking it'd be a quiet place to settle down. Boy, was I wrong, meet Karen, the HOA president, who had a vendetta against anything that didn't scream beige conformity. My crime-drawing chalk art on my driveway with my little sister, Lily. We're talking rainbows, unicorns, the kind of stuff that makes a 6-year-old squeal with joy. But Karen, she saw it as a personal attack on her pristine neighborhood aesthetic. "This isn't a carnival," she barked one afternoon, storming over in her khaki capris, waving a violation notice like it was a court summons. "Clean it up by tomorrow, or you're fined." I tried reasoning chalk washes away with rain, for Pete's sake, but Karen wasn't having it. Her eyes had that gleam, the kind that says, "I live for this power trip." Now, I'm not one to pick fights, but I'm also not one to roll over. Karen's little dictatorship had been the talk of the block for years, fining people for unapproved mailboxes, measuring grass height with a ruler, even banning Mrs. Henderson's petunias for being too purple. The woman was a walking caricature, and I'd had enough. That night, over a glass of cheap wine, I scrolled through X, laughing at petty revenge stories. When it hit me, Karen wanted a war on art. I'd give her one she'd never forget. I wasn't just going to scrub the chalk and call it a day. No. I was going to make a statement. Something so bold it'd have the whole neighborhood buzzing. The next morning, I called up my buddy Jake, a 3D street artist who makes those mind-bending murals that look like the ground's splitting open or sharks are leaping out of the pavement. Jake's the kind of guy who lives for chaos, always down for a stunt that sticks it to the man, or in this case, the HOA. "Yo, you want me to paint what on her curb?" he said, already laughing. "A dragon." "Hell yeah. I'm in. Let's make it pop." The plan was simple but ballsy. Jake would sneak in at dawn, transform Karen's curb into a masterpiece, and I'd make sure the whole neighborhood knew it was a middle finger to her reign of terror. I spent the next few days rallying the troops' neighbors who'd been burned by Karen's rules. There was Mike, who got a $200 fine for parking his truck wrong, and Sarah, whose kids got a written warning for riding scooters too fast. We were a ragtag crew, united by one goal: take Karen down a peg. The night before the big move, I couldn't sleep. My brain was buzzing with what-ifs. What if Karen caught us mid-act? What if the HOA slapped me with a lawsuit? But the thought of her face when she saw the mural kept me going. Jake showed up at 4 a.m., his van loaded with spray paint and stencils. The street was dead quiet. Just the hum of cicadas and the occasional porch light flickering. We worked fast, me keeping watch while Jake laid down layers of color: blazing reds, electric blues, a dragon's snarling face that looked like it could eat Karen's Prius whole. By sunrise, it was done, a 3D masterpiece that made the curb look like it was cracking open, with a dragon clawing its way out. And right next to it, on a plywood sign I'd borrowed from a construction site, Jake spray painted in huge red letters: "Karen's reign ends here." It was glorious, the kind of thing you'd see go viral on X. Word spread like wildfire. By 7 a.m., neighbors were out in their pajamas, snapping pics and whispering. Mike was practically crying with laughter, and Sarah's kids were begging to take selfies with the dragon. Then came Karen. I'll never forget the sound of her flip-flops slapping the pavement as she stormed out of her house, clipboard in hand, face redder than the spray paint. "Who did this?" she shrieked, her voice echoing like a banshee. I stepped forward, cool as a cucumber, and said, "Art's not a crime. Karen, maybe you should loosen up." The crowd murmured, some cheering, others just eating up the drama. Karen's eyes locked on the sign, and I swear, I thought she'd pop a vein. "This is vandalism," she screamed, jabbing her finger at the mural. "You're all in violation. But here's the twist." Jake had used water-soluble paint. The whole thing would wash away with a good rain. No harm, no foul. Karen didn't know that, though, and watching her lose it over something so temporary was sweeter than any fine she'd ever dished out. The fallout was epic. Karen tried to rally the HOA board, but half of them were secretly on our side, tired of her nonsense. The mural became the talk of the town, with people driving by to see it before the next storm rolled in. Posts started popping up, with hashtags like Drew, G, Karen v. the Dragon, and Ho Revenge. Karen's power trip took a hit. Neighbors started ignoring her petty rules, planting wildflowers, parking wherever they damn well pleased. She still glares at me when I walk by, but her clipboard doesn't scare anyone anymore. The mural washed away, but the message stuck mess with us and will hit back, bigger and bolder. So, what do you think? Was I petty for turning Karen's curb into a dragon's lair, or was it justice for every neighbor she'd bullied? Drop your thoughts below. I'm dying to hear if you're Team Dragon or Team Karen. The end.